Nintendo's E3 2021 Direct was one of the company's best presentations in recent memory. And I say that with a lot of personal bias, obviously. Despite opening the Direct with the execution of the protagonist from one of my all-time favorite Nintendo franchises, it felt like 99% of the games announced or shown off were catered specifically to me. Cruisin' Blast, WarioWare, Mario Party, Advance Wars, flippin' Metroid Dread, are you kidding me? Still, the announcement that had leaked a day early only to be confirmed the next day was probably the most exciting to me. Is it? Oh my god, is it? Yeah! Come on, son! Let's go! Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania is the game many of us Super Monkey Ball fans have been craving for what seems like ages. A true return to form of the classic Monkey Ball level design, while still retaining the polish and poppy visuals of the newer style of games. Exactly like my personal favorite Super Monkey Ball game from 2006. What? What's that? You say Banana Mania is the first Monkey Ball game to combine the best elements of modern and classic Monkey Ball? Oh, no. While it would seem that Banana Mania is the first entry in the franchise to attempt this, taking what we know about how the Super Monkey Ball games have changed over the franchise's 20-year history, revisiting Super Monkey Ball Touch and Roll reveals an underlooked game that combines elements of modern and classic Monkey Ball in a new and refreshing way, 15 years before Banana Mania. While not my first Super Monkey Ball game, that honor goes to Super Monkey Ball 2, Touch and Roll was the Super Monkey Ball game I wanted to revisit following the announcement of Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. Likely because it's the Monkey Ball game I remember sinking the most amount of time into growing up. Probably because it was on the Nintendo DS, and in case you're new to this channel, I kinda have an innate bias towards the handheld, which I will try my best to put aside for the nature of this retrospective. Releasing on December 1st, 2005 in Japan, February 17th, 2006 in PAL regions, and February 21st, 2006 in North America, Touch and Roll wasn't the series' first handheld entry. Super Monkey Ball was a thing on the GBA and the N-Gage, apparently, and it is the first time we see a new art style introduced to Monkey Ball. Before you even begin to play the game, Touch and Roll's packaging and art style are a dramatic departure from the lovably lumpy original look for the series. Don't get me wrong, I like the primitive and almost vaporwave-ish look of the first two games, but Touch and Roll's 2D artwork by Saizo Nage just cleans up the original designs and makes them feel much more complete. While this is the first and only Monkey Ball game to not only use 2D artwork for the promo art but for the game's graphics as well, these redesigns appear to be the basis for which the future 3D redesign of the Monkey Ball characters would be based on. When you compare the redesigns from Banana Blitz with the original characters, it seems like they almost completely changed the monkeys' designs. But when you add Touch and Roll as a sort of middle stage between the two, the evolution of the art and design choices becomes much more natural. And it's easy to see how many of the tweaks in Touch and Roll became staples in the later designs. From things like I and Gongon's shirt, I mean, were you seriously going to miss the Comic Sans t-shirt? To the larger heads, the monotoed feet, much of the future design choices seemingly draw straight influence from Touch and Roll, with the exception of Baby's future headset goggles. I mean, I seriously don't know why they were added. I'm not really a fan, but I guess it adds to the lore of Baby being from the future or whatever, so I mean, it's cool, it's here to stay, whatever. And honestly, these new visual designs work so well for the game, but we'll get into that later. Let's go ahead and crack this baby open and actually take a look at the game itself. Even all these years later, Touch and Roll still certainly knows how to make a great first impression. Bright, colorful visuals, a catchy, upbeat tune, even a secret little hidden minigame that challenges you to see how many balloons you can pop on the touchscreen before missing one. It's so charming and happy. About the only thing that could really ruin this whole moment is a twerking Ai asking you to smack his simian saddlebag, his monkey mooney, his baboony booty, if you will. Oh god, it's worse than I remembered. Oh no.
死んでいる。何？
After the game insists upon committing assault to start it, we're greeted with the main menu. If you're unfamiliar with Super Monkey Ball games, what you see here is your pretty typical fare. You can play the main game or the party games. What's the main game, you may ask? With the exception of Super Monkey Ball Adventure, which we will not get into that today, in every mainline Monkey Ball game, the main game is a series of challenging levels that require the player to tilt the stage to guide one of the four monkeys, Ai, Gon Gon, Mimi, and Baby, to the level's goal. These levels can differ in execution. Some just require you to get from point A to point B with a steady hand, eye coordination, and skill. Others are daunting, gargantuan contraptions that can require experimentation and precise knowledge to complete, but the goal is always the same: to get your monkey through the gate before time runs out without falling off the level. Along the way, you can collect bananas to boost your score and help earn you extra lives or tries. This is the basic gameplay that the Monkey Ball series is built on. However, Touch and Roll starts to differ from its classic predecessors in the way that levels are organized. In classic Monkey Ball games, you have the option to choose from a set of levels that are sorted into a few different challenge playlists separated by difficulty, and the goal for the player is to get as far as possible in each one, staying faithful to the arcadey nature of the original Monkey Ball cabinet game. Touch and Roll is the first game to change up this structure. Instead of playing a list of levels based on difficulty, after you've selected your monkey, you choose from one of the worlds that are available. Each world has a different auditory and visual theme and are comprised of only 10 levels each, 9 main levels and 1 bonus level where the objective is to collect the most amount of bananas before time runs out or you fall off the stage. As minor of a change as this may seem, on the one hand it's definitely a step away from the more arcade-like structure established by the first Monkey Ball games, but I think it's one that really is better suited for handheld quick play sessions. On the other hand, however, Touch and Roll would not be the last time levels were organized in this way, as we'd see this implemented in Banana Blitz, Step and Roll, and 3D. Not until Banana Splits on the Vita, which wasn't even developed by Sega, but actually by Marvelous AQL, so I'm not really sure if that counts, but it still seems worth mentioning, would the franchise return to the arcade-like structure of levels. And speaking of the levels on Touch and Roll, what exactly do we have on offer in this entry? What truly sets apart the newer Monkey Ball games from the classic games is their level design. Like a certain other Sega franchise, Monkey Ball games are kind of split between a classic and a modern era. At the time when Touch and Roll released, the Monkey Ball franchise was at an all-time high. The games that had released were well received by critics and players alike for its fun gameplay, cute monkeys, fantastic music, and great level design. With all the games after Touch and Roll, the cute monkeys and great music stuck around, but the gameplay and level design kind of went, well, off the rails. Well, not really off the rails. I mean, rails are actually part of the problem. As you can see, there's kind of too many of them here, and here. But you get what I mean. Despite Toshihiro Nagoshi and Yukio Oda, the director and level designer respectively, for pretty much every mainline Monkey Ball game, Splits and Adventure being the exceptions, retaining their positions after Amusement Vision was fully absorbed into Sega, the Monkey Ball franchise seemingly changed overnight with new control gimmicks, dumbed down stages, and new gameplay mechanics that just weren't fun, like boss battles and jumping. In this way, Touch and Roll is sort of the last classic Monkey Ball game released before the drastic changes, sitting in this gap before the split between the classic and modern level designs were created. So what is the difference between the classic and modern level designs? The classic levels require experimentation and mastering the game's physics and will have you dying over and over again, whereas modern Monkey Ball levels are very simplified obstacle courses that have had their difficulty severely dumbed down to better suit wacky control gimmicks, like motion controls, or shifting your body weight via the Wii balance board. However, when it comes to Touch and Roll, there is still an element of interesting gimmickry without sacrificing the great iconic level design the series was built on. Firstly, the levels are clearly designed with the classic Monkey Ball mindset. Okay, maybe that's slightly cheating as 75% of the levels are rehashed from Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2, but okay. If it was alright for Super Monkey Ball Jr. and Super Monkey Ball Deluxe and Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania, then dang it, it's okay for Touch and Roll too. But even the levels that are original to Touch and Roll have that physics-based puzzle charm that I find so appealing about the classic level design. All of that is fantastic and makes the levels a joy to play. And then secondly, there's the control gimmick. This game isn't subtitled Touch and Roll for nothing. Like most games on the Nintendo DS around that time, developers wanted to take advantage of the touchscreen capabilities, and Sega was no exception. It's simple. You touch and you roll. Not as simple as brain surgery on a Nintendo DS, but simple enough in concept. Considering how Monkey Ball was created with joysticks in mind for pulling off slight movements, using a touchscreen panel doesn't seem like a bad compromise, but I'll be honest, this was just never really for me. Fortunately, for me anyway, you can alternatively use the control pad to roll Ai and his friends around each level. Despite the fact that using a D-pad with 0 analog inputs for controlling something as precise as Super Monkey Ball is inconvenient, we'll say. It is serviceable once you get the hang of it, and honestly was my preferred way to play touch and roll back in the day. It kind of cramps my hand up way more now, but honestly, I find it still gets the job done. As you guide one of the 4 monkeys across each of touch and roll's unique worlds, each monkey having their own stats that slightly changes how they handle, you'll unlock more worlds. There are 12 worlds in total, with the last 2 being extras that are hidden away, the first of which you unlock after finding and clearing the 2 secret gates, and the second of which is unlocked for collecting 2006 bananas after completing the first bonus world. A nice little nod to the game's North American release year. And I have to take a moment to gush about the visuals and performance for touch and roll. From lush jungles to volcanoes to space, LSD land, the void. Touch and Roll has a large variety of environments with gorgeous 3D graphics that still hold up really well to this day, despite some low-resolution texture work on the backgrounds. This game looks better than most of its DS contemporaries, and it manages to run at a rock-solid 60 frames per second, which is kind of insane. And touching again on the 2D character redesigns for this game, as you can see, the character models on screen are simplified 2D sprites. Maybe a little too simplified, but they display as incredibly clean 2D artwork on the bottom screen. I'm sure the use of the sprites for the game models is a big contributing factor to why the game runs so well, and considering you'll mostly be paying attention to what's happening a few feet in front of you rather than the monkey itself, it works just fine. But having the animated monkeys on the touchscreen is a fantastic choice. Ai and his friends have never been so expressive, and each of their adorable animations adds that little extra layer of personality to each monkey. I mean, who knew Mimi was such a thrill seeker? And to complement the wonderful visuals is an incredible soundtrack by Chiho Kobayashi that is still super catchy. While not as chill as the music from the original Monkey Ball games, each world's music has its own flavor that makes Touch and Roll stand out from every other entry in the series. The music was so good, in fact, that they decided to remix and reuse pretty much every track in Banana Blitz. Not the HD version, though. We won't talk about how we were robbed. Seriously, though, listen to these bangers and how they cranked them up to 11 for Banana Blitz. After completing each world, the credits roll, and in true classic Monkey Ball fashion, we are treated to a minigame hidden inside the credits. In the style of Breakout, you have to fling and bounce the monkeys from the touchscreen onto the names on the top screen. This isn't my favorite credits minigame in the series, but it is definitely a unique one. I think the bigger issue that became kind of a running problem in the series after Touch and Roll is the fact that you have to play the credits game after every single world. This isn't so much of a problem when you're going back to replay the game because you can obviously just pause and skip, but if it's your first playthrough, you are going to have to play through the ending credit minigame in order to actually complete each world. However, if you've played a Super Monkey Ball game, you know that the fun doesn't end once the credits have rolled. In fact, one could argue that there's more fun to be found in the included party games, as games like Monkey Fight, Monkey Bowling, and most especially Monkey Target are iconic games from the classic era of Super Monkey Ball that are practically even more fondly looked back upon than the actual game itself. I can personally testify to spending countless hours drawing monkeys with my friends in Monkey Target back in the day, which, in hindsight, is an awful line that I never thought I would think, write, record, and then include in a video that's accessible by the public, but here we are. And unlike games that would come later in the Monkey Ball series that seem to prioritize quantity over quality, Touch and Roll features 6 party games, 4 from the classic era of Super Monkey Ball and 2 that are brand new to Touch and Roll. The returning games are Monkey Race, Monkey Fight, Monkey Golf, and Monkey Bowling, all of which play just how you would expect them to from previous Monkey Ball games. However, this time around, touchscreen controls have actually been implemented and are required in this case. If you're unfamiliar with some of these iconic minigames from the Super Monkey Ball franchise, here's kind of a quick breakdown. Monkey Race is a lot like Mario Kart. You race around as your monkey in a ball, shooting items and projectiles at your opponents to slow them down as you race to come in first. Monkey Fight pits you against one another with giant boxing gloves as you attempt to punch each other. Each hit earns you a point, while knocking opponents off earns you lots of points. Toss in the crazy power-ups and each of these matches becomes utter mayhem. Monkey Golf and Monkey Bowling are pretty much what you would expect, bowling and golf. But your monkey actually replaces the ball in both of these scenarios. Because, you know, forget physics, am I right? And before veterans cry foul to the lack of monkey target, allow me to introduce you to Monkey Flippin' Wars. This game is closest to what I'd probably call baby's first arena shooter. You're dropped into a maze-like map with a first-person perspective, and you go around looking for your opponents, tapping them on the touchscreen to fire at them. Some extra weapons like watermelon machine gun seeds, pineapple grenades, honey globs that slow you down. There's a ton of fun, family-friendly creativity oozing at the seams with Monkey Wars, and my friends and I used to sink hours into this game back in the day. The touchscreen controls really don't hold up very well on this one, as you have to swipe your stylus along the bottom of this bar to look left and right and tap on your opponents to shoot, which leaves things feeling just a little bit clunky, but the gameplay is so solid and fun it can be overlooked. Monkey Wars is easily the best party game in touch and roll. Monkey Hockey is the other new game to touch and roll, but fits perfectly in line with the other series of sports party games. It plays exactly like air hockey and works incredibly well with the touchscreen. Probably the best touchscreen implementation out of the 6 party games. You've got the ability to play these party games with friends so long as they also had a copy of touch and roll and their own DS through wireless multiplayer. But, like all good Nintendo DS games, Monkey Wars and Monkey Hockey could be played in multiplayer even if only one person owned a copy of the game, which is probably why I remember playing so much Monkey Wars as a kid. As you can probably tell, I really like Super Monkey Ball Touch and Roll. It's not just a great Monkey Ball game in my opinion. With the benefit of hindsight, we can see just how unique the entry is in the series, preserving elements from the classic Monkey Ball games, like the way the levels are designed, the classic party games, and how it just feels like classic Monkey Ball, while also introducing new ideas to the gameplay structure and music that would go on to influence later titles, and manages to hybridize them in a way that makes the game feel fresh while also respecting the roots of the franchise. This is especially significant because this would appear to be the same design philosophy that Sega is taking with Banana Mania, taking the classic levels and party games of the older Monkey Ball games and combining them with the fresh coat of paint of the newer games. See, Monkey Ball doesn't have to be split between a good era and a bad era, the classic games and the new games. Honestly, I'd argue that Monkey Ball shines when the best elements from all parts of the series are put together to stand in the spotlight, just like Super Monkey Ball Touch and Roll. While I know this entry will not be for everyone, I mean, your only 2 control options are with the D-pad or the stylus, so pick your poison. If you're a Super Monkey Ball fan who skipped out on this title, or if you're new to the series and have a Nintendo DS, or are looking for one of the cheaper entry points into the series, Super Monkey Ball Touch and Roll showcases some of the best the series has to offer and is an all-around great time. Hey, you made it to the end. Thanks so much for checking out my video. Have you played Super Monkey Ball Touch and Roll? What are your thoughts on the franchise in general? I love to have discussions about these types of topics, so drop me a comment down below and let's have a chat about Monkey Ball. As always, be kind, stay safe, and I'll see you next time.